Tech Reimagined, redefining the relationship between people and technology. Brought to you by Endava. This is Tech Reimagined.
Hello and welcome back to Tech Reimagined, Endava's podcast. I'm Bradley Howard and I'm very pleased to welcome you to the latest episode of our show. Season 3 of our show explores how technology is influencing the fabric of our society, the way we work, the way we live, and the way we do business. Stay tuned on every podcast platform to listen to our subject matter experts this season. And it's lovely today to be able to introduce you to a very talented technical expert acting in a very broad and loved industry. It's Helen Pownall, Engineering Programme Director at SportRadar. And together we will take a closer look at how technology is currently driving change in the sports industry. Hello, Helen. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hi, Bradley. Yes, I'm fine. Thank you very much. So just to give you a bit of an introduction about myself, as you just mentioned, I'm the Engineering Programme Director. What that actually means is that I look after the delivery aspects of the engineering programs in the product delivery unit. I look after the Agile coach community within SportRadar. And I also look after things like integration, mergers and acquisitions in terms of the engineering aspects of that. And we also have another group under me called the Operational Excellence Group, which really focus on tools and services to help us measure what we do and to improve our ways of working. So that's a little bit about me in terms of, what does the Engineering Program Director role mean? Just to give you a little bit more background about SportRadar, we have a number of different straplines and mission statements, but we try to enhance the way the world experiences sport. And so what we try to do is we collect data, and we collect media and we process it to create products and services which really underpin many of the sporting experiences that people enjoy at this moment in time. And that's, I think, what we're going to dive into in a bit more detail.
Really looking forward to it. So we've got to ask the high level question first. Do you actually practice any sports?
Well, I used to play rugby. I used to play rugby when I was at the University of Leicester doing my postgraduate. And I started off because I'm quite short, so I started off as a hooker, and so that's quite a good, fun fact for my back pocket. And then I went on to, as I got a bit fitter, I got to play flanker, which is my favourite position. But at this moment in time, I don't get involved in any sports unless you count, driving my kids to their matches.
And are you a fan of any particular sports teams?
Yes, I mean, I like rugby, I like cricket, and of course, apart from the national teams. But coming from Cornwall, I don't get to see the Cornish team unless they're playing near Richmond. So when they're in the area, I do try and go up and see the Cornish Pirates play, and catch your odd Harlequins match as well.
Right, okay. And the first time we met, because you're an Endava customer, we actually met at some hospitality at Kempton Park Racecourse, the horse racing. And from what I understand, you're not allowed to place any bets on any sport because you often provide the feeds into some of those sports. Is that right?
Exactly right. Yes. No, that's the thing that you have to sign when you sign up for SportRadar. You cannot bet. You cannot bet on anything, any sport, because there's so much, especially in the engineering department, but regardless, I mean, you have so much going on in terms of, and so much access to in-depth sporting knowledge that you could have access to things which would be, let's say, a conflict of interest. So yeah, so no, we can't do that.
Well, you certainly didn't provide me any data. I think I lost on every single race that was there that evening. So on to SportRadar now. What kind of data do you collect? How do you collect it? And who do you sell it to?
So we collect kind of anything and everything. So we collect fixtures, teams, odds, in-play information. If you can imagine a data point about a piece of sport, then we would either want to create it, collect it, or analyze it, or see if we can get hold of it. We provide information basically to in basically with 3 product verticals. I mean, we cover about 90 plus sports, and we cover about 890,000 matches in a year. So that gives you an idea about the sort of the coverage and the breadth and depth of the the sporting coverage that we have. And we use this data in a number of different ways. We have three main product verticals. We have betting and gaming, sports entertainment, and sports solutions. So betting and gaming, as you might imagine, we provide data for bookmakers, and that includes everything from full business solutions to essential content like data, odds, statistics, video streams, and from that to all-round marketing and management services. So that's for betting and gaming. Sports Solutions is one of our more recent acquisitions. That's from Synergy. So this is largely focused on providing solutions for sports organizations and coaches. So analyzing teams when they're playing and just seeing what happened within a match. Sports Entertainment, and that's focused on streaming media solutions and digital advertising. And that's focused on largely driving deeper engagement with fans, and sort of the Generation Y. So whether you're betting on coaching, playing, or watching sport, it's likely that we've got a product or service that can help or power or is already powering that interaction. But on top of these three main product verticals, we have our integrity service, and that's all about protecting our sports from integrity threats, for example, match fixing, doping, and other fraud. So we have, and that's kept completely separate from the product side of things, but we essentially have. We analyze the information that we have. We analyze the data that's going on in the match, and we can see suspicious behavior, and we've got a whole bunch of investigators, intelligence analysts, educators, etc., so that we can actually take appropriate action if we see something that looks really unusual, either from a betting perspective or from a performance perspective. But then underpinning all of this, we have our central engineering function, which is where I live, under the CTO of Ben. Hopefully that's given you a picture of how we use the data. I mean, we sell it to, pretty much every household name you could think of, kind of Apple, Google, Bundesliga, NBA, NHL, International Tennis Federation. So a lot of the household names you'll have heard of will be working with us.
So that's just fantastic, isn't it? I'm thinking of kind of the cycle of all the different organizations and individuals involved in the sports industry, and you pretty much provide those data sources to every single one of them, everything from the integrity, which is to probably the federations that run the sport, all the way to the individual coaches who are looking at an individual player's performance.
Yeah, exactly.
You also had me at 90 sports. I'm not sure many people could actually name 90 sports. That's quite something.
No, there's lots of So, for example, everything that you've got, for example, different formats and different types of sports. Esports takes up about 6 or 7, just because we've got each of the different. So there's lots of different things that you think, oh yeah, that's just one sport, but yeah, there are 92 actually. I've just looked it up.
So esports, while we're on that subject, falls into 2 categories. One is electronic versions of sports, and I'm thinking of EA FIFA,
yep,
that you play on your Xbox, and then the other side is World of Warcraft, or basically fantasy sports that are then played competitively, and they have some very big prizes as well. So
yep.
How do you run some of the analytics that you currently provide on esports, because you're tracking something that is digital in the first place?
At the moment, it's a combination. So we have scouts, like we do with everything. We have people watching the match, and sometimes we have. It depends whether there's an API. If there's an API, then we can hoover that information up, relatively straightforwardly. At the moment, we've got a pilot running, which is hopefully going to be launched very soon, where we're actually going to be using computer vision to monitor the matches, and then we can kind of like record and analyze the matches using the models and using the computer vision to actually do the work for us. That kind of allows us to. We're using computer vision and AI in a number of different ways. I mean, we've used it in lots of different places. We hooked it up to Wimbledon, and we're actually using it to kind of like get that next level of data. Going back to esports, we have regular scouts. Sometimes there's an API. We'll obviously kind of like that be the route one if we have that, or there's a computer vision opportunity that we're just starting off with, which allows us to analyze the frames and then kind of like check the results against the scouts. At the moment, we're doing it. We're running the 2 in parallel, just to make sure that we're not missing out on anything, and we're teaching the models, and we're training the models correctly.
And on the coaching side of the business, Synergy Sports, have you got any success stories you can share about that?
Well, Synergy Sports joined with SportRadar relatively recently, although they've been with us for a couple of years now. But and that completed the picture really in terms of our coverage. So we've now got everything that from grassroots upwards. And I'll give you an example from a basketball perspective. We have a pretty comprehensive coverage in terms of every team. Most teams are using Synergy, right from the elite amateur up to NBA professionals. And the way in which we normalize the information means that, and as an athlete, you can be kind of like working through your various stages in your professional, athletics career or sporting career, and having the same set of data helping you and kind of like sharing, giving you feedback about your performance for the entire course of that career. And they are very secretive in terms of how they use the data to translate into improvements. So we don't have any stories we can say, oh yes, this is how they do it, because everyone's kind of trying to get the edge. But the fact that every NBA team has been using us since 2012 for that purpose, and now every D1 college team since 2015 has been using us, I think speaks for itself.
Wow. And do you find that sometimes athletes will know what data is being collected about them, so they'll then play to some of those statistics? So, for example, in football, or soccer as it's known in the States, we see statistics about how far each player has run on the pitch. Do you sometimes find that athletes will then start running extra lengths in order to make up for some of their time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an inevitable. Unfortunately, that's an inevitable element of human behaviour, which is, the what you measure what matters, and unfortunately, if you're measuring and publishing the wrong kind of metrics, or if people are understanding that they can game the system by, just running off in a bit of an unusual direction just to clock up a certain metric, then it could have it will have that feedback element. However, one would expect that if you were using the portfolio of data that you have access to, would allow you to say, well, actually, how many assists did you have? You'd have a weighting, which would mean that these things would balance out. But that's certainly possible.
And thinking to the future, are you looking at anything inside virtual reality or the metaverse?
When sport went into lockdown, when live sports largely, stopped happening, because of COVID a couple of years ago, the virtual reality team, we have a whole tribe dedicated to virtual reality. So we have essentially, the Bundesliga football, they get played out. So what we basically in March 2020, we had a big problem because we're a sports data company and there's no live sports. So that was a massive issue for us. And so we thought very carefully about how we could move forward with this, and also how do we support our customers through this time as well, because that's a really existentially that was a massive problem for them as well. So we thought that we've got virtual reality, virtual sports happening already. We can already provide the capability for that. We have all the information from our data and our performance data from the Premiership division and the Champions League already as to what's happened so far this season. So somebody thought, right, okay, so why don't we just play out the rest of the season, but in the virtual world? And that's the idea behind what we now call simulated reality. We had 7 tribes working on that, integrating, the live data piece with the virtual reality piece with an engine, with the BIAI engine. And we managed to do that in 11 days. So we got this new product up and running, and we were able to play out the rest of the season, if you like, the remainder of the season, in the virtual world. And we just kept it going. So the product is still there. Now we have the thing where before a real match is played, we have a virtual match which is played, the same virtual match, and people can bet on that, and they can bet on the real one. So definitely, I mean, the virtual reality products we have are certainly a very important part of our product suite.
Well, a fantastic story, and for such a unique time in history as well. Keeping in mind that we're recording this towards the end of 2022 at the moment, what are your predictions for sports technology in the year ahead? Bear in mind that we still have the FIFA World Cup to play at the end of this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key things, we've touched on it briefly already, I think AI We use this a lot, and we're starting to use AI, and it's starting to come into a lot of what we do. AI and computer vision really um, are starting to really accelerate and enhance almost every aspect of our products and services. So, for example, betting and gaming, we're now using this to AI to deliver sort of the next level odds, where we can basically look at the market, we can look at the state of the market and look at the liabilities. And based on the liability as well as the overall market position, we can actually give an odd that's really quite compelling, or quite sort of like kind of beyond the market, the standard market pack. And we can do this because we've just got like so much access to the data around the market, and we can use our models really effectively to just give us, and the bookmaker and also the punter can get the benefit from that. So that's one of the things that we're going to be doing in the betting and gaming space.
Do you look across the market just for one bookmaker, or do you look at the entire market across bookmakers, about the entire match, for example, or race?
But yeah, we can look at the whole market. But for a particular market, yeah, we can look at the whole market for a particular race. So there's a couple of nuances. Is some bookmakers are obviously our customers, so we can have deeper access to what the actual performance is for that particular customer and what is going on with that particular customer. But obviously there are other ways in which we can get full market data, even if we don't have this person as this bookie as one of our customers.
Any other trends that you can foresee?
In terms of AI and computer vision, well, AI is helping us with our integrity product massively, because we are now training the models to recognize patterns, whereas before it was a very largely manual process. And now we can just look at train the models to look at the behavior and actually alert a particular an individual to say, hey, do you think this is something that looks suspicious? And then we can then give that feedback loop back to the model. If it's not suspicious, then we can say, okay, fine. So that's enabled us to really improve our coverage of the integrity product. We are now offering this core monitoring service for free to over 150 sports partners. That's what AI has allowed us to do, because we can then we can run it so much cheaper. In terms of the Synergy product as well, we've introducing AI and computer vision allows us to manage and analyze the matches much more rapidly. So instead of a 24-hour turnaround, we can then get a match analysed in about 2 hours. So, for example, if someone's got a match on a Thursday and then they're preparing for a match on a Saturday, that player has got the ability, and that team has got the ability to then almost kind of like look straight away at what happened on Thursday without too much of a wait before they prepare for for the next match. So I think these things, like getting the depth of data and getting the insights that the depth of data allows us to get access to is going to be one of the most influential things, I think, in the future, in the future of sport in the coming year.
I can almost imagine in my mind that we're going to start seeing professional players come off a pitch or after a race, and instead of opening the bottle of champagne straight away, they're all going to be opening up an iPad, looking at their personal performance and what the online AI coach says about them, and getting some people disappointed even after winning some massive, really important race. I guess the bottle is already, the genius bottle is already open on this one. But can you see a level where kind of it becomes enough is enough? I guess as a data provider, you're probably thinking, no, we'll just keep going.
I think no, no, I don't think so. And actually, it was really interesting because when I was, doing, looking at the Synergy piece, there's several examples where you can see interviews with professional NBA players, and they're just being interviewed after the game, and they just go, oh, yeah, I got straight onto Synergy, and they weren't product. I mean, it wasn't product placement. It was just kind of a matter of fact. It was just so. Yes, no. I mean, I was just watching Synergy for the, to get up to speed with my new team, the opposition, and it just seems like an automatic thing for them to do.
Right. There I am checking my Strava profile every time I finish a run or a cycle, and thinking NBA players do exactly the same after one of their matches as well. It's just on your platform instead. Well, that's just absolutely fascinating. Helen, thank you so much for sharing some of these valuable insights with us today. It's such an amazing industry to work in. To all of our listeners, thank you for joining us today, and we're really looking forward to having you back next week. If you enjoyed today's episode, and I would imagine you really did on that one, then please share it with your colleagues, your friends, and your family. Until next time, I'm Bradley Howard, and this has been Tech Reimagined.